أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا ولسانا وشيكارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا وجعلني عند قبر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا قرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز الشان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه ما العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجاه واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقفت قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. These are the days in which we celebrate the birth of our 11th Imam, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salatu wasalam. Last night we spoke about Imam very briefly, and I wanted to continue as far as Imam's discussion is concerned and incorporate that inshallah into today's khutbah along with the relevancy of the events and as well as the circumstances that we are going through. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayat says, O those who believe, fear Allah, have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be with those who are sadiqeen. Fear Allah, ittaqullah, wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. And of course this ayat and many such ayat of Quran indirectly talk about these Aimma Athar, as we had recited this ayat last night from Surah Nahl 43, which said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who are Sahiban al-Dhikr if you do not know. Sahiban al-Dhikr refers to Aimma Athar. Similarly over here, Sadiqeen refers to Aimma Athar as well. The personality of insan becomes apparent when they talk, when some sort of bayan or kalam comes from them. Someone asked a qadi, define me. Qadi responded by saying, speak and I'll define you. Meaning the moment you open your mouth, the moment you utter some words, it'll be easier for me to define you. I don't know you right now, but let's have a conversation. After a conversation, a few words, I'll be able to judge and I'll be able to define you better. And therefore, from 11th Imam, we receive these pearls of wisdom where Imam ﷺ emphasized a great deal on how to be on a watch when you open your mouth. He said, لِسَانُ الْعَاقِلِ وَرَاءَ قَلْبِهِ وَالْقَلْبُ الْأَحْمَقِ وَرَاءَ لِسَانِهِ. That indeed the tongue of an aqil, someone who's sahiban aql, someone who possesses intellect, وَرَاءَ قَلْبِهِ, his tongue is behind his heart. What does that mean? That means he or she considers this heart to be the mechanism to filter out that which he's about to put on his mouth or that which he's about to bring on his tongue. Meaning what? His tongue does not go out and say anything or everything. Rather, he filters his thoughts through his heart before he brings it to his tongue. That's why Imam says, Lisanul aqil wara qalbihi. The lisan and the tongue of someone who's sahib aql is behind his heart. Meaning he puts the heart and he filters his thoughts through that heart. But on the contrary, he said, وَقَلْبُ الْأَحْمَقِ وَرَاءَ لِسَانِهِ. But on the contrary, the heart of a foolish person is behind his tongue. And these days, when you hear these debates that are happening, presidential debates, you can easily go ahead and decide for yourself that how much foolishness is being said and the rants about different things are going on. And of course, many of these things don't even make sense that are being said. So therefore, it is important for us that we too make sure when we utter anything from our tongues that we run it through our heart before it comes out. Why? Anything that comes out of the tongue, it's not easy to bring it back. Once it's loose, then of course you have to bear the consequences of that. And therefore, famous couplet by a poet. He said, Jarahatul lisan, Jarahatul sinan, those wounds that are caused by spears. Jarahatul sinan. Jarahat means wounds. Sinan is the plural for spears or any type of weapon. The wounds that are caused by the weapons, those can be cured. But jarahatul lisan la yaltama bihi. But the wounds that are caused by the tongue, there's no curing that. You might get struck by an arrow, or might get shot, na'udhu, or might get struck by something and there's a wound. Over time, what will happen to this wound? Eventually, it'll heal and you'll be able to function again. But the effects of the jarahatul lisan, the effects of the tongue caused by someone, it doesn't repair. There's no healing. And therefore, it is important that we make sure when we speak, especially to those who are in our surroundings, especially to those who are close and near ones, because maybe an outsider does not really bother much with what comes out of our tongues, doesn't care what we say. But those who are close to us, those within our family, those within our community, words have effects, and therefore we got to be very careful. Imams of Ahlul Bayt didn't attain any worldly knowledge, but still spoke about all relevant subjects with complete authority. You and I, that's the difference between us and Aimmatar. We should not open our tongues in regards to things which we do not have proper knowledge about. And therefore, when we come to look at the kalam of Ma'asumeen, it seems they have not spared any area of expertise. Now, of course, you got to understand, and so, well, how come Imam did not extensively talk about the rules of physics and science? How come Imam did not talk about the rules of mathematics and the equations that we have today? Well, because there wasn't anyone to go ahead and question Imam about these things at that time anyway. And even if Imam had said something, people would not have been able to comprehend that anyway. But that does not go ahead and tell you that Imams did not possess the knowledge of that. But primary subject of Imam's conversation, according to the Quran, is for the human building and to build the humans in a way where they are close to their humanity, their character. So in regards to those things which affect the human societies and the characters, Imams spoke extensively. For example, you look at philosophy, economy, politics, akhlaq, sociology, every one of these subjects, you find extensive material written by our scholars. Where are these scholars getting this stuff from? From the kalam of Aimmatar alayhi wassalam. So here we see that Imam alayhi wassalam also possessed the similar knowledge, and Imam used this knowledge to go ahead and keep it to himself? No, to put it to use and output. In sense, was Imam able to stop many of the calamities of that time? Many of the deviations that were happening in the society at that time? And Imam was able to teach us that as well. So for example, this is a concept which is around today as well. But Imam in his time eradicated it, or at least with his words, he spoke extensively about it, that we should have a clear-cut view regarding such groups that exist amongst ourselves. There was a group of people called the Waqifiyya, and there was a group of people called the Ghulat. Ghulat, the ones who used their love for Ghayrullah, whether it be Aimmatar, whether it be Rasul, whether it be these saints, and they would associate godly, attributes to them to the extent God is no longer in the picture. That is the definition in a sentence in regards to Ghulat. Imam responded in a letter saying, I disassociate myself from the group of Waqifiyya to the extent that you should neither keep friendship with them nor visit them when they are ill, do not attend their funeral processions, and do not offer prayers over their bodies. Similarly, in regards to those who are ghali, ghulat, those who associate these attributes to us Ahlul Bayt, Imam's instructions are very clear. Keep away from these people. Do not associate with them. Do not call them or do not pray over them. Similarly, there was a group called Mufawwidha. Mufawwidha were the ones really who ended up becoming these ghulat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One more loud now, salawat please. So Mufawwidha, there came a group of people who claimed that Allah, after creating the universe, has retired and left the affairs of the universe in the hands of Ahlul Bayt. You sometime, unfortunately, within our own circle, find the similar sentiments are mentioned. This person by the name Idris ibn Ziyad Kafarta'i. He was the head of this group, and he was the believers, one of the believers of this Aqidah, who came to see Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salatu wassalam. When he came, Imam did not need to scold him or to prove to him. All Imam did, after hearing this person, Imam recited the ayat number 26 of Surah Anbiya. What does it say? وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ بَلْ إِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ. They consider, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a child, a son. Subhanahu, bal ibadun mukramun. No, exalted is He. Rather, they are but honored servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning what? You associate such a thing to us, Ahlul Bayt? What are we? We are honorable servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam recited this ayat, number 26 of Surah Anbiya, to prove that fact. Then Imam said, we are the servants of Allah and we don't venture ahead of God's ahkam. We act on the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, for others who were around, he said, make sure that whenever there's a doubt or a shubha is being created within your own circles, you have to uproot it, eradicate it right away before it becomes a snowball. And then nobody has the ability to then speak up against it. How many things that you have seen that now are becoming part of religion that nobody dares says anything about it? Why? It is now so much into our culture that as if some people think that it is, part of Shariat and Deen. And hence they will not even utter a word about it. When, of course, the great scholars and the Maraji and ulama, those whom we do taqleed of, when they speak about it, they don't fear anyone and they give their fatawa, but of course how they are treated as well. Imam said what? He said, أَوْرَعُ النَّاسِ مَنْ وَقَفَ إِنْ دَ الشُّبْهَةِ. He said, أَوْرَعُ النَّاسِ, the most fearful of the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the ones who are the most muttaqi. And of course the word taqwa comes from someone who protects himself. So awra is also, wara'a, is someone who protects himself from maharim and haram. He said, awra'un nas man waqafa in the shubha, is the person who pauses, stops whenever there is a doubt. So for example, this is halal, this is haram. This is where you have shubha. This is where you have a doubt. Haram you're good with, halal you're good with. But the moment you arrive at a juncture of a shubha, doubtful thing, what does the awra and the muttaqi do? They stop over there. They say, I'm going to treat the shubha as it is, as if it's not allowed for me. And I'm going to go for it. Now, if you look for the fatwa of the marja, you say, well, things where you are doubtful, it's okay. If you have doubt about the hilliyat and the hurmat of a food, it's okay as long as it's not proven to you. But when it comes to someone who's, precautionary, someone who uses, ihtiyat, what should they do? They should stop over there. Then it says, A'abudun nas, the most worshipping person is man aqama al fara'id, the one who makes sure that the fara'id and the wajibat are taken care of. He said, Azhadun nas man tarak al haram, the most ascetic is the ones who refrain from haram. Wa ijtihadan man taraka ad-dunub. He said, Ashaddun nas ijtihadan man taraka ad-dunub. And the most severe as far as their hard work is concerned are those who stay away from any types of sins. Of course, I completed the hadith, but the main part was the beginning part of the hadith. When it says, Awra'un nas man waqafa in the shubha. Those who pause as soon as a shubha comes about. So we see the same in the politics of our 11th Imam, that by removing these doubts, brought the minds of the Muslims of his time toward reality. He put an end to the deviations that were starting to establish within these circles of Islam that were damaging the wahdat of Muslimin. Imam Askari, in order to rein the political conditions, used the method of taqiyya. Now this is a very controversial discussion between our brothers of Ahl Sunnah as well. But to prove that quickly, in a couple of minutes, our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu said what? He said, At-taqiyyatu dini wa dinu abai la dina liman la taqiyyata lahu. He said, taqiyya, dissimulation, is my religion and the religion of my forefathers. And the one who does not practice taqiyya, la dina lahu, they don't have any deen. Imam goes to explain. Now, of course, when he says no deen, does not mean that person is kafir. That's not what Imam means over here. But when we say this, a lot of our brothers, they right away question, well, taqiyya, you guys do taqiyya. And then it is misused. Just like the concept of the hur, right away you hear about shahadat of someone, the non-Muslims are mocking all around. Oh, this person is going to be getting the hurs and so on and so forth. Then they're mocking, you know. They've got the verse 72 from somewhere, and you see this is being ridiculed. Here we see the same thing, that Imam used taqiyya to bring the Muslims together. Taqiyya means that for minor issues, one shouldn't sacrifice or endanger the usul of our religion. If there are minor issues, you can do taqiyya in those as long as the usul-ad-din remain intact. Or due to some conflicting issues, we temper the unity of Islam by which the enemy could penetrate and control us. That's what you see in the world today. A lot of conflicting views come about because we're going to stay true to our minor issues. We're not going to go ahead and budge when it comes to some of the things in which it is okay for us to compromise. No, we're not going to compromise over anything. We are 100% sure in what we are doing, and compromise, throw that word out of the window. No, when it comes to minor issues, it's okay for you to compromise. There's nothing wrong. 11th Imam is the one who's using this concept. Taqiyya is the method in which insan, in order to protect the fundamental of religion, the usul, the tawheed, the nubuwwat, the ma'ad, the Quran, and the Kaaba, doesn't mention the conflicting issues. So if there are any conflicting issues, for the sake of that, I'm going to do taqiyya. I'm not going to mention them if I'm in the gathering of those who may not be signing up for that. So taqiyya in this way is entirely different from nifaq. Right away our brothers will say, well, that is munafiqat. That is hypocrisy. That is nifaq. What's the difference between nifaq and taqiyya then in your terminology? There's a huge difference between the two. Nifaq is when you bear false in your heart and you utter truth from your tongue. That's what nifaq is. While taqiyya is where you keep the truth in your heart, and for the sake of unity you portray and you utter that which may not be truthful from your tongue. What Ali ibn Yaqteen did in the time of our seventh Imam, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi wassalam, that is the example of taqiyya. What 11th Imam did in order to keep the sanctity of the Muslims and to keep the wahdat and to remove and eradicate these false deviated groups, Imam ﷺ used this taqiyya. So taqiyya refers to the practice of concealing one's belief or actions to protect oneself, one's life, their wealth, their religion from threats. And this is something which you do every single day in your life. I'll give you a couple of examples and you say, yeah, this is something which is falling under the category of taqiyya. For example, number one, workplace or school environment. In some societies or workplaces where religious discrimination occurs, an individual might hide their faith or beliefs to avoid prejudice, losing a job, or educational opportunities. Is anyone going to blame you for that? If my workplace is toxic and there's religious discrimination over there, what am I going to do? What is my duty over there? I'm allowed to, in order to feed my people, my family, in order to earn halal, I need to be able to make money. I'm not going to be begging in front of the people. Therefore, I need this job. In order to keep this job, I might need to hide my faith. Nothing wrong with that. Or preserving security in different communities. in regions where people face persecution or harassment based on their religion, an individual may alter their appearance or behavior to stay safe from the physical threats. You and I live here. Now, we don't know how things will evolve over here as well after the elections, but nonetheless, we've seen in the past 4 years of this person where discrimination was on rise, Islamophobia was on rise, white supremacy was prevalent. It came out where it was kept at bay for majority of the time, but then it came out. All of these things happened, so you weren't safe. But this is nothing compared to many other countries in the world where mu'mineen live, and they have to constantly, in order to protect and preserve their lives and sanctity and their family's life, what do? They practice taqiyya. Does anyone question them? Does anyone go up to them and say, why are you, behaving like this? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you showing your real colors, for example? No, I don't have to. This is where I need to protect myself and my family. Political circumstances. During times when governments harshly target specific religious or political groups, people may conceal their beliefs to protect themselves and their families. Do that all the time. It's nothing wrong with it. It's something which aql is also dictating you should do in order to what? Sanctity of life is more important than anything else. La tulku bi aydiyakum ila tahluka, ayat of Quran. Don't throw yourself into annihilation with your own hands. This is where taqiyya is something which is permissible for you. Or as far as historical events, you look at the history as well, throughout history, especially under the Abbasids and the Umayyad dynasties, Shia Muslims practiced taqiyya to avoid persecution to death. This happened in the time of 7th Imam, in the time of 9th, 10th, and especially in the time of 11th Imam, when these Abbasid caliphs were left and right looking for those who were the followers of Ahlul Bayt. And that is the reason you find this beautiful hadith and tradition from our 11th Imam, Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salatu wasalam, where Imam gave those 5 signs of a mu'min, right? Wearing of the ring, placing sajdaga, reciting Bismillah out loud, ziyarat arba'een. All of these were what? None of them were wajib, but these were signs of mu'min. This is how you recognize, because you were living deep in taqiyya and you had to conceal your faith in order to be able to just barely survive. So therefore, these are all the reasons we do not use this concept to manipulate anyone, to trigger anyone, to go ahead and show a different face. We're not two-faced and two-tongued, right? In order to go ahead and bring someone. That is only done for the sake of wahdat and only done for the sake of keeping people together. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second discussion that I wanted, and very briefly I'll go through this, is something which people have been asking this question a great deal, especially given in the circumstances that we live in, making dua for mushrik. That is it right or is it wrong? Are we allowed to make dua for those who are mushrikeen, polytheists, for example? People ask for, especially now when we live in an environment where we have non-Muslim and even those who don't believe in any God, for example, we are friends with them. They are our colleagues. They are our, friends at work, at school, at different places. So is it okay for us to pray for them? Prayer can be divided into 4 categories. Number 1, praying for guidance. It is permissible to pray and strive for the guidance of all individuals. So when you want to pray for someone for their guidance, it's okay to pray for a mushrik, a polytheist. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to the right path. There's nothing wrong with that. So that prayer is permissible. Praying for success and good deeds. Yes. It is permissible to pray for the success of individuals in carrying out good deeds that have public benefit, whether this person is for a Muslim or for non-Muslim, or for those who don't even believe in any divine faith. There's nothing wrong with it. And the proof of that could be found in that very profound dua from our 4th Imam, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, where Imam prayed for those who were part of the Umayyad military but were engaged in guarding Islamic borders. Strengthen the borders of the Muslims with your dominance and authority, and empower those guarding the borders. Imam made this dua, number 27 from Sahifa Sajjadiyah, is still there. We actually recited this dua in the days when we were going through this, or we are still going through it, but we recited a couple of times for the strength of those who are at the front. Dua literally is Ahlil Thugur, for the people of the frontier. Imam made this dua. Who were at the frontier at that time? They were the guards of the Umayyads. Imam ﷺ made dua for them. So dua for guidance is allowed, and dua for success and good deeds is permissible. Praying for the forgiveness of their sins is where your dua is not useful. So for example, if you pray for the forgiveness of someone's sins who's a polytheist, this dua is as if this dua is, has no meaning, has no value. Why? The ayat of Quran is the shahid when it comes to seeking forgiveness, istighfar for others. There are certain limitations. Ayat of Quran regarding this said to our Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Ma kana lin nabiyye wal ladhina amanu. It is not, okay for Nabi and those who have brought Iman, and yastaghfiru lil mushrikina walau kanu uli qurba. Chapter 9, Surah Tawbah, ayat number 113. It is not befitting for a prophet and those who have brought Iman unto him to pray for those who are polytheists, even if they may be their family members. Guess where this ayat was revealed? Surah Tawbah is part of Surah Tawbah. There were many converted Muslimin who had family members who were what? They're still mushrikeen. So they wanted to make dua for the mushrik parents. I said, well, dua is not going to be accepted because you're praying for a mushrik. Yeah, you can make the first dua for them, pray for their guidance. Allah provide them guidance. Pray for their success in good deeds. But when it comes to praying for their forgiveness, this dua has no value whatsoever. And then there's another version, another part of it, which I will skip for the brevity of time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to understand these commands and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, especially our 11th Imam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam, the son of our 11th Imam, and make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Inna ahsan al-hadith wa ablagh al-mawidha kitabullah wa billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبا وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وأفان السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفحا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعباد المذنبين بعلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين لقد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبنات خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى وعلى الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدء والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى عباده الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. اللهم من يذكر فتنفع ذكره إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. وصل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. وصل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. وربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على آل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة الابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jummah Mubarak to you all. Let us recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Mrs. and Dr. Asghar Kharaji. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as yours. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alamin ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. As-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just a couple of announcements, inshallah. This coming Tuesday, we will be commemorating the wafat of Bibi Masuma Qum, salamullahi alayha. 10th of Rabiul Thani is the day of her wafat. So inshallah, 10th of Rabiul Thani falls on a Monday. We will commemorate that with the Tuesday night program of Dua Tawassul. Program will start with dua at 7. Email will go out on Monday, but program will start at around 7 p.m. And inshallah, you can take part in this program this coming Tuesday, which will be Tuesday, the 15th of October. Also, the 15th October is the voter registration deadline. So make sure that you register yourself. Very important elections coming up. And it is important that you register so that you're able to vote, inshallah. There's another workshop. While there is a cybersecurity workshop going on every Saturday over here, there's another workshop that is, inshallah, in plans for November 2nd That'll be a Saturday. Maximize Wealth and Minimize Taxes workshop, which will be led by experts in this field. And inshallah, more details will go out. There's a screen on the screen outside. There is a flyer where you can register for this event, which will be on November 2nd, which is a Saturday from 10:45 a.m. until 4 p.m. Aside from that, inshallah, let us proceed with the, before I go with the dua, just the announcements regarding tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. We have Salatul Fajr starting at 6 a.m. Saturday morning, we start with Salat, followed by Quran Circle, and then we have breakfast. On Sundays, we have Salat at 6 a.m., followed by Nahj al-Balagha commentary, and then we have breakfast served downstairs. So please do take part in this Salat program as well, which happens every Saturday and Sunday. Although Masjid is open 7 days a week for Fajr, Dhuhran, as well as for Maghrib Salat. Fajr happens at 6 a.m. every single day. Dhuhran happen at 1 p.m. aside from Jum'ah, which is 12:45. But every day you can come here at 1 p.m. Masjid will be open for Salatul Dhuhr and Asr. And Maghriban happens on the prime time, the actual time for namaz. So do check the website for the prime time for Salat and take part in the daily prayers with us. Let us proceed with the Dua Sihat, Dua Shifa for all of those people who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time. Our heartful prayers go out to the people of Lebanon, people of Palestine, all those who've been injured in these attacks and this massacre. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring an end to their difficulties and provide, inshallah, improvement in their life as well as their health. Let's recite this ayah karima 5 times together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-muftarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Proceed to Salatul Asr. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan hujjatullah. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.